Welcome to the 03 Dropcast, where we cover the offbeat, off-meta Legends of the Armory. I am a host with a little more hair than you're normally used to having. I am Bryce. We are on, week 3 now of our Hot Boy Summer Vacation tour, and I just got back last week. Chris just got back. So we're good to go. So we got Chris today.
Howdy, howdy. I am not in the woods.
That no one ever wants to be. And replacing Craig this week is Matt, aka Sin on Stream, aka Dat Guy.
Yeah, we got him. You guys got a different bald guy this week.
The law of the show is there must always be one.
Always gotta be one bald one. Like there must always be a Lich King.
Craig. Honored to replace Craig.
Well, let's not get replace quite yet. But you know, we're having Matt on this week. Seemed like perfect timing to have Matt as a guest because anyone who knows him knows that he is sort of a Runeblade stan, sort of a Briar stan, and also pretty good with the lore. So, you know, we just off the hot off the tail of the Mistveil release. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they normally don't release the new set like this soon after a set release, right? It seems like very quick.
I honestly was expecting it to be at least like another couple weeks, maybe a month or so before we saw anything regarding it. But I guess just the way that the competitive events lined up, you know?
Yeah. I wouldn't have been shocked to hear a name, but I'm honestly shocked that we got like 50%
as
of the
much
heroes
info as we got already.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was going to be like James White just coming on being like, oh, here's the next set, and then like bam, Rosetta across the screen being like, talk to you in a couple weeks.
All right, like let's start the speculation. But no, they gave us a lot, and they gave enough for me to be happy.
So one thing that I can't really complain about too much with that is that they did give everybody enough time to book for Tampa, right? I mean, I think have been complaints in the past where some of the events are announced, you know, a little too close to their actual start time, and it's hard for people to book everything, but we got plenty of time for September. Anyone else going? I know I'm already booked up.
I'm just glad nobody else here wants to go, right?
Well, I do want to go. I can't, unfortunately, make it.
Yeah, I do as well. Primarily because, like, you figure, when's there going to be another one East Coast, relatively close to us? I mean, you know, Tampa to Pittsburgh isn't close, but I mean, it's a 3-hour plane ride, something like that.
Yeah, I think a direct flight is about like 2.5.
Yeah.
When are we going to get another chance for that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just flew to to Miami this past week, and it was a super easy flight, real quick, and so the fact that, you know, I will be unable to go because we were saddled with what's it called? Hospital bills for my wife's surgery.
Oh,
and things like that.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, looking forward to that. I've been wanting to go to one of those events since Vegas. So this is going to be great.
Should be a good one.
Matt, I think you were also the only person who actually played this week, right? You're the only one who went to Armory, and you sat next to Craig, and you all drafted.
Yes, we did. We were in the baby pod.
How'd your games go for that?
We got baby pod. We got baby pod. We had a 6-person pod. I think I drafted a pretty strong new deck, but Casper, who was recently on the show here, was across from me, also new. And I think I had a new next to me as well, so it got kind of hectic.
You had 3 news and a 6-man pod?
3 news, 2 Enigmas, and 1 Zen. And that Zen.
Oh, wow.
That sounds gross.
In a 6-man pod, only 1 Zen? Yeah.
The 1 Zen was, it was Moo. And, it was a gross deck.
Did he end up winning? Because it seems like that's a shoe-in.
I think so. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I do know
that's wild.
One thing's for sure, and that's that Poopy 03 didn't drop. But still.
It's unacceptable.
Didn't win.
Can't win them all. Can't win them all,
kid.
Although he did post in the team channel that he did have his first ever 20-0 win.
Yeah, I think.
I saw that.
He was on Enigma and he had a 10,000 year reunion in the deck. So he was like, "What if I just hit you for 11 each turn and protected it?"
So funny to me that he drafted a 10,000 year reunion.
Yes, especially after the break, after the case break. Yeah,
after the original trauma of opening 40 of them. Like, jeez. But that's awesome. Yeah, I had a bit of an incident at work last night, so I could not make it. I was super excited to come back after like just not getting a chance to, but
Right.
it happens. But on that note, we do have probably so much to dive into here because, like we said, Matt loves Rosetta. He it is hit. This like set is like made for him.
Yep.
And we would love to talk about some of the lore, some of I've had discussions briefly with you about this in the past, just talking about
sure.
Arya lore and everything. So like, where does this fit in to the War of the Monarch? And I guess, have you been able to kind of decipher like what the timeline is with, the events with Rosetta? Because we've seen basically implications of the Queen of the Rosetta kind of in a dying state.
Sure.
So like, where does that put this in the timeline, and like, what are the implications of that?
So as far as the timeline goes, it seems like we're still on almost like a parallel timeline. Like the events of Dusk Till Dawn happened. Solana's moving forward while like Viserai and his cult, quote unquote, are currently in the underworld, Erathiel, and they're searching for something. And that can very much be seen throughout the Viserai specializations we've seen come out over the past year, where you have, I believe it is Sonata Phantasmia, and it looks like Viserai standing, or it's Bequest the Great Beyond, where Viserai is currently on some kind of journey in the underworld, quote unquote, Erathiel, and Sonata Phantasmia, where he's overlooking kind of like this object, and it's like almost like a yellowish light at the center of it, and it seems like there are like blue and green and yellow things swirling around it. And when you start to think about that a little bit, I have more theories on that than anything else, but I think...
Is this like an Infinity Gauntlet situation?
I think it's possible. So I'll get into that as we talk more about the lore, but...
Yeah.
Arya... go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess we've been hearing Rosetta, and we've already talked about, the Rosetta Thorn, and what is the Rosetta, right? Because we have this sort of like druidic kind of like keepers of Corsham kind of deal, and like that's my understanding of them. But like what do we got there?
So essentially, it really all goes back to a specific time period in Wraith. Like we're talking eons ago, like centuries, if not even thousands of years ago. There were essentially these like godlike entities called what were they called? They were called the Exalted Ones. And the Exalted One, it was the Exalted One, and the Exalted One essentially brought life to the area around Arya, or Wraith in general, by creating the sun and the moon. Which you can start to see a little bit of a through line there. Like we have Solana, we have, the part the Mistveil was very lunar focused. So these kind of play into that. But there were these ancients that were spawned off of this Exalted One. These ancients essentially fought against these entities of darkness called the Old Ones. Now, we only know them as the Old Ones in the context of like the modern like context. Like the people of Arya present day only know these beings as the Old Ones. One of the assumptions may be that these Old Ones were actually the demonic entities from Erathiel, like Ursur, Blasmaphet, Nazareth, those entities. There was a war that occurred during this age-old time frame. Like this, it was literally called the War of the Ancients.
Okay.
There was the ancient Davnir, the ancient Eisen, and the ancient Yivor. Eisenloft. Yes, you're starting to get it. Davnir was the ancient of Earth and Lightning. Yivor was the ancient of Ice and Lightning, and Eisen was the ancient of Ice and Earth. Okay. And essentially, they fought this war against this dark entity, and on the human level, they granted these humans in specific areas the ability to wield elemental powers, the shards and pieces of their power, and this was called the Flow. We don't quite know where the flow comes from. We just know it's this essence, this spirit that kind of goes throughout all of Aria. The different elements are essentially spawned off the flow.
Okay.
One of the factions there were several factions that fought alongside each other during this time to aid against the fight with the old ones. There was Davnir and the Rosetta, and then there was Eisen and the Allin. The Allin were essentially these guardians that were raised up and given the ability to wield ice and earth. And the Allin fought alongside the Rosetta during this war.
Okay.
This essentially went on for centuries until something happened, something that has not been said or stated. All we know is by the end of that war, the Allin were almost all wiped out except for one who was frozen in ice.
Okay.
That would be Oldhim.
Okay.
And then there were the Rosetta, who essentially went back into a sleep state. They settled in this town, the city that they built in this grove, right near the remains of Davnir, called Candlehold. The queen essentially went into a deep slumber, like a dream state almost. And years and years and years and years have passed, and the queen woke up. When the queen woke up, she essentially spread seeds all across Candlehold. Candlehold being essentially within this bramble barrier that was put up by Davnir's power.
Okay.
To protect Candlehold, of course.
Yeah.
And so one of those seeds essentially landed way far out on the border of Candlehold and the rest of Aria. And from those seeds, the Rosetta were born again. They were essentially reincarnated from these seeds. The one seed that was the last to sprout, so to speak, was Briar. And she was born on the border between the outside world and Candlehold. This allows her, for some reason, once again, not stated, this allows her to actually pass beyond the boundaries of Candlehold while the rest of the Rosetta are kind of trapped there. Okay. So the Rosetta essentially are these plant-grown magical dryad people. That's the best way to explain them. They command Earth. They command the Earth element. That's just what they do. Yeah. And some of them have the affinity for lightning, aka Briar. We've seen that. But primarily they are Earth focused. They're very in tune with nature and very in tune with protecting the nature and forest of Aria, using Davnir's powers.
So the thing you mentioned at the beginning, the exalted one, that said made there. So is that is it kind of accepted that is the progenitor of Wrath? Is that sort of created Wrath in 7 days kind of deal?
Seems like it. We don't know too much about it. We just know that it's mentioned very exclusively within the bounds of Aria. Okay. And that, simply put, there were humans here, but they essentially lived in darkness. And to ease the suffering, this god arrived and gave them the sun and the moon, which allowed them to plant, crops and build civilizations.
Yeah. So it was existing already. It was just sort of in a state of there was no, no magic, no nothing to it, kind of.
Right.
Now, when you say there were humans there, maybe you're getting to this kind of thing because and if you are, tell me, you'll get to it later. Could that be the people and I'm going to mispronounce the new hero's name, the what is it, Acilio, I believe it is, the big robot lightning looking wizard guy. There's all those little tiny people at the very bottom, to kind of give you a scale of how big he is. Could it be them?
So I'm getting to Acilio because with this upcoming set Rosetta, we do have two lightning heroes. Now, the two lightning heroes that we do have, they are not from Candlehold. They are from Volthaven, which is a separate area of Aria, but they are both from that area. With that being said, essentially this goes back to original Tales of Aria lore, right?
Okay.
When Tales of Aria began, it was right after the kickoff of the quote-unquote War of the Monarch. once Viscerai and Chain opened that portal and allowed Ursur and allowed Blasmafet and allowed all of these entities back into Wraith, right? Aria started changing. It was as if the remains of the ancients in Aria sensed the return of the old ones. And I'll get to what I mean by the remains of the ancients.
Okay.
But when that happened, the barrier between Candlehold and the barrier between Aria as a whole started to weaken away and wane. So the people that lived within Aria for centuries, hidden from the rest of Wraith, were all of a sudden able to venture outward, but people were also able to start venturing inward.
Okay.
During this time, a couple things happened. The mountains of Eisenloft, they shook, and Oldhim was essentially let free from centuries of ice imprisonment. He woke up, no memory at all of who he was or what came before, other than he was just frozen solid. Ivor,
is that why his name is Oldhim? Because he literally couldn't remember what his real name was, and they were just he's an old guy.
It might be. I mean, honestly, it's very possible. Him's
very old.
You got to think though, like his tagline name is Grandfather of Eternity.
Yeah.
So he is genuinely that old.
Yeah, I never really contextualized that he was a caveman frozen in ice, basically.
That's what it was, and so he rose. At this same time, Briar was starting to venture forth because the boundaries were waning enough for her to go through. And something was happening in Enrion. And Enrion is essentially this giant mountain landscape north of Eisenloft. And it's this mountain landscape, these are actually rocks that are like in the sky. Like giant land masses in the sky.
Okay.
And so people had built a city there called Volthaven. Think of this place almost like, if I had to describe what it would look like in like our like realistic culture, this place was almost designed and built to resemble like almost like how you would think like Valhalla looks like. It's very like Valkyrie-esque and very like Nordic, Norse kind of themes. Through that, when the old ones, quote unquote, started stirring, which caused the ancients to start stirring, that rock formation that comprises Enrion is actually the remains of Ivor. It's actually Ivor's body, but they're these giant landmasses. That just gives you an idea of how large these ancients actually were.
Okay.
So would it be like that mountain creature on Rouse the Ancients?
That's exactly
the same ancients we're talking about?
Yep.
Okay.
It looks very similar to that. That's the assumption, at least. Now, it's said that Ivor sacrificed himself. The myth within Aria legend is that Ivor sacrificed himself to hold back the old ones. And in doing so, his body was left there, and all that power of the lightning and the ice essentially created these fjords that were, the rocks in the sky.
Okay.
When the War of the Monarch began, and Ursur, Blasmafet, whatever it is, the Shadow returned to Wraith, basically. These rock formations that were made out of this ancient's body started revealing ancient vaults within them. A young adventurer named Lexi took her party of Yorick, Thawne, and Mara into one of these vaults to investigate what was happening. The lightning storms were starting to stir up so torrentially that it threatened to actually destroy Volthaven. So in order to go investigate at Ivor's Peak, they found a vault. Inside this vault, they discovered like a bunch of like gears and metal and all sorts of things, almost like dwarven architecture in a way. If you're like familiar with like Lord of the Rings or anything like that, it's like almost like dwarven architecture. And they found writing scribbled on the wall, which I don't think has been deciphered yet. Could be wrong about that. They took that writing down, managed to escape, went down deep into Aria itself, down near Corsham, which is the center of Aria, where all of the flow kind of flows through and out the tree. They started asking around if anybody knew what this language was, if anybody knew what this writing was. Nobody knew. So at this tavern, that's where they meet Oldhim. And Oldhim, being as old as he is, the ancients, he recognizes it as an ancient language. Doesn't know what it says, but he recognizes it as an ancient language. Then, of course, the party, and I'm skipping a lot, but then, of course, the party meets Briar. They meet Briar. Briar is fighting with a street merchant about whatever. Typical D&D party alliance.
It's literally just like a
very D&D party. Yeah, it's a very happenstance kind of thing.
That's funny.
But Oldhim recognizes her as one of the Rosetta because the All-In fought alongside the Rosetta during the original War of the Ancients.
Okay.
They essentially team up, and Briar suggests that maybe we should go talk to my queen. So they go all the way to Candlehold, with Lexi and Oldhim being the first outsiders from Candlehold to ever enter Candlehold since those times. While they're talking to the queen is kind of going in and out of that dream state again. She's starting to kind of lose it a little bit. And I believe that is what happened, because in Eisenloft, the mountain shook. In Volthaven, in Yvor's Peak, like, things started getting revealed from the past. But the question was, what happened to Candlehold? What was going on in Candlehold? And I think it was a lot more subtle, personally. And I think what that was the queen was starting to wane and the queen was starting to die.
Okay.
And that kind of leads us into Rosetta, where the going plot of it is that the queen of the Rosetta has died. Now there is some kind of process. There's some kind of process, some kind of ritual that they have to perform to essentially crown the new queen. It's called, like, they actually call it the germination process. That's what that card Germinate that they revealed is.
Oh, the Florence and the Machine cover.
Exactly. And
great album.
Great album. And so they're talking to the queen, and the queen recalls that the seers of old are the only ones who are able to decipher this script. However, before she kind of wanes out again, the queen looks at Oldhim and says, "You're all in." And then that's when Oldhim starts recalling everything from his past, and he realizes that he is all in, and that there was this alliance. There was some group called the Covenant that essentially banded together against these old ones.
Okay, so that's what the Covenant was, is sort of a band of Rosetta and Olin that were like fighting. Okay.
So how does Volthaven play into this whole Queen of the Rosetta's dying? I think that has yet to be seen. We do know that as part of, quote unquote, the funeral or the germination ritual, there are friends, quote unquote, from Volthaven coming to Candlehold to sort of pay their respects in a way. And I think that is where Aurora comes into play.
Okay.
However, with Acilio, we see that Acilio is a giant construct.
Yeah.
Giant construct. And I believe my lore thought here is that Acilio is a guardian of one of those vaults that was revealed.
Okay, that would be why. Yeah.
Because he does he kind of resembles that dwarvish architecture.
I like when you look at that and you compare the art of that other architecture and stuff, I can see that. I had a really dumb theory that the reason they didn't show us the front of Oslo was because it had a metrics border.
Maybe.
I very much was getting metrics feel from the art, but and that's the reason why I was getting so confused. I'm like who the hell's building this thing, and why is it associated with Aria or Rosetta?
Well, apparently there's some lightning electric power available in Volthaven. You know what I mean? Could it be a heist? Somebody went and stole something from Volthaven. Their metrics is using it to make big automatons now.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, so here's another really good point, and I don't think it was ever answered through the Bright Lights lore. Is that metrics essentially jumped forward in time on their technological advancements way too fast.
The assumption being that somebody figured out time travel.
My assumption, well, no, yeah, that is like part of the assumption. But my now seeing Acilio or Acilio, whatever you want to call him, I don't know how to pronounce that. I just work here. My thought, and I think I'm kind of pulling this one from a Twitter post I saw earlier, is it possible he is the technology that folks from Metrics discovered?
Oh, okay.
That helped aid in the advancement of their technology so quickly.
Yeah, like if
is he basically the battery pack?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because it looks like he's stuck in that wall. Honestly,
well,
but this is also his young art. Let's remember this is also.
And that's what I'm curious about. Is like what is the adult art going to look like on him? You know what I mean? Like, is it like him just like, oh God, like kaijuing over like a city or something like that?
It's just a vat of batteries. Like it's just it's a bunch of Duracells.
Yeah, but no, like as far as Aria lore goes, and I definitely I encourage anybody that wants to learn more about it, like please go read. Like I actually think out of any location within Wraith, out of any set within Flesh and Blood, the one where we have the absolute most lore and stories and information on is Aria itself. Yeah. Aria is, for some reason, there is so much story here that, you could spend like a good 4 or 5 hours reading all of it. And
I've tried to dive into that. What's the website that we can give them a shout out? I don't remember.
Is it story? It's like Stories of Wraith. I feel so bad right now because I use it all the time.
Everyone's like, Chris.
We're all like, Tales of Wraith.
Chris's cat is freaking out, and everyone's Googling what the lore website is. What was it again?
Sorry, not Tales of Wraith. That is a blog. That is not it. Legendary stories, I believe.
Yeah, I think I remember it having something to do with like the name LSS.
It is legendarystories.net.
Legendarystories.net.
Yes, the folks over at legendarystories.net, they do a great job. Like they put everything out. Like,
oh man, I just got real blurry. Sorry,
but that's like, I believe it's like Dead Summer, Paranine, Steelfur. Okay. There's a whole group of content creators over there that all contribute to that. I'm not one of them because I'm not primarily a lore creator, but
enough about it.
I'm a nerd, is what it is, and I like I like well-written fantasy, and Fair. there's a lot within this game that has that.
Yeah. So you had a full transparency. We asked Matt for bullet points because I don't even know enough about the lore to start asking the questions and guiding it. But one of your things you had for the grand adventure, you mentioned where Briar, Oldham, and Lexi were. Is that's when they went, the one when they were going to meet the queen? That is when they went to go meet the queen. Okay. Now the queen herself. Because I remember that being a story on the LSS website. Exactly, and it essentially ended with This is actually a very important thing that I was reading. I'm actually going to quote right from it. It's essentially that they hand her a book and the queen responds by saying, "This is the dialect of the seers." Oldham's ears pricked up, implying Oldham knows the seers. Oh, okay. Handing the tome back to Lexi, the queen leaned back on her throne, yawning. "What do you mean?" Lexi frowned in confusion. "We have seers in Volthaven, but they were not able to decipher it." The queen chuckled, a sound familiar to that of a snoring toad. Interesting way of describing that. Not those seers, the seers of old. I don't understand. Who were the old seers? And all the queen says is hidden allies, bearers of the indigo eye. Find them if they still exist. Bearers of the indigo eye? We don't know what the bearers of the indigo eye are yet. However, I do want to point out that there's only one thing in the game that looks like a blue eye, that it could be like indigo. Eye of Ophidia. Eye of Ophidia, yeah. And I believe the original theory around that is that Ophidia was either an ancient or an old one at one point in time. Okay. So my guess, this is speculatory guess, is that there are seers. There is an order of seers called the Bearer of the Indigo Eye.
and they're the ones who are currently in possession of the Eye of Ophidia. And they probably use it as some kind of magical tool to be able to do whatever with it. We don't know, because they never built off that.
Yeah.
Well, and then Lexi asks, any idea where we might start looking? And the queen just closes her eyes, exhales deeply, and sinks further into the wood. That's the last we hear of the queen.
Okay. Huh. Like, so the idea of the eye potentially being one of those like old ones, I think there's been a good bit of speculation around like who is Findall.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you like all the Findall and all those like, what are those gems supposed to? You know what I mean? Like it's a fantasy trope. Those gems have to be something. You know what I mean? Like it's never just arbitrary. And I'm like kind of annoyed right now because my autofocus keeps making me like very red. I've been like switching between red and blue this whole time. It's gonna look real weird, but anyway. Like those all those gems got to be like pieces of like one of the ancients or something like that. You know,
something.
Right.
Well, I mean, God, it's called the Heart of Findall.
So
yeah.
So there's one thing I wanted to point out. The Exalted One created, it says specifically in the lore here that the Exalted One created life. Now when they wrote life, they wrote it with a capital L. Okay.
You always got to watch for capitalized things.
Yes.
That's like where,
as in, it's not like, oh, look, I created all this life. It's like, no, I created life, as in the being life.
Capital L, life, yeah.
And there's something I really want to point out. If you look at the Rosetta announcement page, and you scroll all the way down to right before where they show the heroes.
Okay.
There is this, like, green sphere, or this green like diamond shaped swirly thing, right?
Called
life.
Yeah.
And I saw that today, and I started like letting it rattle around in my brain, and then you see in the Heartbeat of Candlehold, Verdance is holding something that kind of looks like a physical manifestation of that.
Yeah, it's like a seed.
It's almost like a seed. It's the Heartbeat of Candlehold. And that leads me to wonder, like, who is Verdance? Because Verdance looks pretty similar to the girl on the Fyendal Spring Tunic art.
Oh,
that art to compare.
Yeah. It looks very familiar. And I'm wondering, is this the physical, like, is she the, like, physical manifestation of life? Is that what her her role is in this?
Like of that deity, you know what I mean?
And
it wouldn't be the first time we had an elemental wizard essentially be possessed by a deity of an element. Icelander also was.
Here's another reason why I think you may be onto something there, Matt. And again,
it's all
may
speculation.
Be horseshit.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's fun.
The Everfest Carnival is only in Aria,
right?
And the Fyendal Spring Tunic, you see all like the carnival-y kind of flags and that in the background. It
is. Yeah, you're starting to connect it.
I thought Everfest was a traveling.
I feel like we got the red strings behind everything.
We do. I mean, we absolutely. There's a whiteboard behind me. I swear.
But I'm like, damn it! I can see it.
The deeper you go, the more connections you start to make, and
maybe the Earth is flat.
Oh my God, Charlie, we can't tell anyone about this.
That's probably going to be the Fable this set, I'd imagine, or at least that's going to be a marvel of something. You know what I mean?
It's going to be something. I mean, you don't make that kind of art and then have it just sit. You know,
sure.
It's going to be somewhere.
Speaking of the art, and I don't know like what our timestamp is right now, so I don't want to dive like
looking at like 30. I think 35
minutes.
Yeah,
okay,
perfect. Oh my God, the art on this set. The visual aesthetic of this entire set. I'm actually so like I said, I got myself signed up for the premiere event. I honestly think the playmat that comes in the Blitz deck collection is better than the playmat that you're getting for going to. That should have been the playmat for going to the premiere event. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. I love it. It's so vibrant.
I passed up the Mist Blitz deck thing because it's kind of the playmat, but this one I'm like, oh, that's a nice.
Yeah,
that's a real nice playmat.
I just love like the deep greens with the offset like lighter greens. in there. Like that's like I'm a huge like any RPG I play, anything I play. If I can play like a warden or like an earth hero or ranger combined, I do. Like I'm a huge. Excuse me. I'm a huge nerd for like nature classes and like earth stuff.
Yeah.
Like and I see this and I'm just like, I want it all. Like as a former Briar player, I want it all. Like
as a recovering Briar
player, forced to play Vin's set for the past year.
I mean, the biggest art thing that I'm curious about, and again, I'm not going to get my hopes up because Betsy has let me down already once. But what the hell is that weapon that Florian is like pulling out of a stump? Like that Duskblade-esque looking son of a bitch thorn.
It's like the Duskblade version of the Rosetta thorn. It's crazy.
It's so
like I mean, all we wanted was Betsy with like the giant like log weapon kind of thing, and I'm like. God, I was like, I hope this is a weapon because it looks so cool.
So Florian's interesting because they look very evil. They look very evil. Like very evil.
Super
but
edgy.
not in like a devious kind of way. Like you look at Viscera and you're like, that dude's evil.
Yeah.
You look at like
this guy's just going through a phase.
This is evil. This dude's just going through a phase, and I think
it's not a phase, Briar. I swear.
Because I noticed like they mentioned with the Earth class that like we're the focus of it is like decomposition and rebirth. That is the cycle of Earth, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if when the Queen dies, essentially like all of the Rosetta go through that phase of like. Kind of starting to wither away and decompose until they're reborn again. We're just at the end of a cycle. So it's possible something kind of instigated that. And the way that Florian's looking right now, the way that Florian's kind of pulling like this dark blade out of this tree stump like that, tells me that maybe Florian was partially responsible for what happened. With it, because he has the card. It's a Florian spec, felling of the crown. I'm wondering if Florian is like some kind of usurper figure.
So I said this guy's just going through a phase. Looks a little androgynous. I don't know what we're gonna referring to them as, but they look very. The one thing I noticed is that it's a very like summer versus autumn kind of aesthetic. You know what I mean? A lot of all the other Candlehold stuff, it's very green and summer. And this is we're looking more like it's everything's very fall. They're orangey, even like the leaves in the background. It's definitely a fall kind of like autumn thing going on there. So are we looking thematically at like the duality of like
the summer
those
versus
two
the fall.
sides? Yeah, sort of as a.
Now, and speaking of the Felling of the Crown card, maybe it's just my like eyes playing tricks on me. Is there like a skeleton corpse like on that tree? Like if you zoom in, like right on the stump,
there is.
Okay, so like, is that any chance that's the Queen?
I would think that
because it almost looks like there's like a crown image like above it,
right?
Like, and so like when you're sitting there talking about the Queen and like, we don't know what happened.
So
like I'm like, is this like the Queen is dead and we get that story of what happens to the Queen?
I think it's entirely possible here.
I just noticed something, and I'm going to be a turd and say that like after going through the Vatican and seeing all the art in there, look at the halos around both the Queen and that plant in front. That was in Renaissance art. That was always the marking them as like divinity or a saint or something like that. And so both around the Queen and around that little seedling in the front there, you have these kind of like circles. So there's like something to who that is.
Okay, so sure. I'm actually reading this card right now, and they gave us flavor text I never noticed before.
Wow, look at that! I didn't.
With her fall, the ancient enchantment begins to fade, and the Rotwood stirs once more.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if the Rotwood are essentially like a rival faction to the Rosetta.
And that is where
Florian comes
from. Yeah, because you can see like if you look at the like thematically, everything's kind of fading from green into orange.
Yep.
And there's again this like summer into autumn kind of vibe, and then
So what I'm hearing you confirm is basically what I'm hearing you confirm is Florian is Arachne. We're just
okay.
We're just putting that all together right now.
we need to stop that. Let's stop that right now.
Arachne throws loose the cloak and it's Florian.
But I believe the Rotwood have been referenced on multiple cards from Tales of Aria in the past. It sounds familiar to me. I would need to go back and look.
I've been going through Aria bulk trying to get some stuff ready.
Yeah. So have I. Because I do think Florian's going to play a lot differently than Briar. I think Florian is absolutely going to be playing like some of the more Earth staples, like maybe Evergreen or maybe like Rites of Replenishment, which was an Elemental Runeblade card that Nathan Crawford played and swore by during the Oldham era, just to try and get non-attacks back into your deck or attack actions back into your deck. But there's a lot of old Earth Elemental Runeblade cards that I think we might see come into play now. Obviously, we're going to get a lot more with this set. We're probably going to. The assumption is we're going to get more with this set.
Yeah, and as we're talking about the actual cards now, I think the part of that Florian entertains me with, and again, I don't want to say I'm not excited for this set, because again, I've been trying to get more into Runeblade. I'm starting to dip my toe in the wizard water a little bit here too.
Right.
But the thing that I think is very interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, with Florian is we haven't had a hero that has apart from maybe demi heroes or whatever, that it's once a certain condition is met, your hero power is just now
it's just turned on.
But it's just like, how quickly can I get 4 Earth cards in my Banish Zone, and then bam, I'm just creating one more of everything.
Yep.
And then do we see, similar to in Mist, how we saw ways of like Graveyard Hate through New and things like that. Do we see a lot of like Banish Zone hate, where it's like remove things from Banish Zone, put it in Graveyard, to basically try to counteract Florian or counteract these kind of abilities?
Maybe. It's definitely possible we see some kind of like generic response to that. But I also think that, historically speaking, with Briar, a lot of her best Earth cards were blues.
Mm-hmm.
And we have New running around the meta right now. And if Florian is putting a bunch of blue Earth cards into his Banish Zone, or into their Banish Zone, that's just prime for the taking for New. Because New can then pop off Chi, play a bunch of blue Earth cards, and now Florian's ability is turned off again. It could really be a bane to it. So it almost seems like, you're going to want to balance things there. But I think Florian is absolutely a defensive hero. We've already seen hints that, Embodiment of Earth with Germinate, like embodiments of Earth are coming back for Florian. Florian's going to want to make Rune Chance. Florian's ability is basically Mordred Tide on a stick. So it's Mordred Tide on a stick. It could become a stagnated, or like a static Mordred Tide that you could just you make a Rune Chant, now you get 2 every turn. So there's got to be some way of going about it, but I also think that they're going to build in some kind of check where maybe Florian doesn't want to keep the cards in his Banish Zone. Maybe we decompose maybe there's like the decompose process, and then there's something called like Rebirth that takes a card from Banish Zone and puts it to the bottom of the deck. Given that Earth cards historically have been like graveyard cycling, like renewal back into deck kind of things. So that's entirely possible. And
see what I would like to see happen, and again, this is my never going to happen conspiracy theory.
Sorry about that.
Is when you're talking decompose, like my first thought was it'd be cool to have something where it's similar to Blood Debt.
Right.
Like for every 5 you get like Earth cards you get in your Banish Zone, it's 1 damage at the end of your turn.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? So it's like a balancing act of how many do I put in to turn on Florian, but then I don't want to sit there and continuously damage myself.
There just has to be something that I could see balancing, because, putting cards into Banish Zone. Maybe it's just hard to get the cards into Banish Zone. We don't know yet. There's really no way to just straight up put something into the Banish Zone.
Yeah, I guess it's just how much is Decompose going to be printed. You know what I mean? It's tough.
And this is for the premiere. I guess what they said was that they're not going to tell us all the cards until the premiere.
I like that.
So people are going to be opening things, and it's interesting.
I like that a lot.
It's interesting because we love speculating. It's fun. people, sometimes get a little weird about it. We're like, well, it's all speculation anyway, and we don't even know how it's going to work. It's like, okay, but like, we're just talking about it, we're just like spitballing.
Right.
And that's fun to do. And I think for some people, like, I don't know if it's going to be more people saying like, well, man, I wish you would have just known all of this before the release. And the number of people being like, oh, well, no, that's cool. We get to see new stuff. Like I'm sort of on camp. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
no,
I don't.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely camp of. I'm like what they're doing here now.
Yeah.
I mean, God, you think back to the New Zealand premiere whenever there was the event and they're like, oh my God, all the content creators have a set. They can start building and they know what's going on.
Like a day early.
This takes all of the drama out of it, all of the pain about like all of the people sitting there saying content creators are sitting there and buying up cards they know interact with their preview card just to make my like. It's just here's a handful of stuff that comes out. I assume we're going to get the hero abilities and hero techs, maybe a couple legendaries, things like that are going to go to like the big creators or whatever the case may be. But I love the fact that like Bryce, when you're there, you could just pop open a legendary that nobody's ever seen.
Yeah.
And be like, this is going in my sealed deck, and then you go to sit your opponent and like, oh my God, what is that?
Wait,
like,
that doesn't what?
It's that excitement of like this is really cool. This is an interaction. I love that idea. I think it is very cool, very smart. I hope they continue to do it.
Yeah.
So the calling there is going to be sealed and draft, which makes that even more insane. That there's going to be a calling in a limited format, literally one day after the full card set is known.
The thing is
which is awesome.
We will still have an idea. They said that it's the only ones they're not revealing are the higher rarity cards.
Okay. Well, I'd imagine we're going to get a good number of them. We are going to see
some things, and that might lean towards things. But then you may go into it not knowing a card exists, and your opponent put it in their deck, and it's just a total spike. It's a total out of
There's
nowhere.
No way to play around it, which is cool because again, like you figure, and again, us being fans like the Armory level players, the everyday Joes, it's. If you go to an event like this and you're not like on a team, like let's say Team Runaways that has like hundreds of drafts or whatever before calling, when they have everything come out, they just sit there and go, okay, we're going to jam draft after draft after draft, really get the value.
Yeah.
You're kind of almost on a similar playing field. I was sitting there saying, I have to trust my abilities to know, is this card a trap or value it? Because it may be the first time anybody's ever seen it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really cool thing for the folks that are like, I just want to go down and experience it. I'm not on a major team, but like I want to have a chance, that don't feel like they're at some sort of significant disadvantage than a major content creator or a pro player or something like that. It's really just how well do you know the cards, value it, and how well can you play around the unknown. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's a really cool thing that they're doing with this Tampa event, and like kind of makes me mad I can't go, but hey, but I'm gonna say something interesting. On the flip side of Florian, there's another Runeblade.
I was about to ask, which one are you most excited for, Matt? Being like the Runeblade lover of Pittsburgh.
So the issue I have, and it's not an issue, it's a good issue to have, is that they gave me 2 Runeblades. They didn't just give me 1 Elemental Runeblade and said, here you go. And I would have been happy with just 1. But they gave us 2. And they didn't just give us 2. They broke Briar in half. And then gave us one piece of each.
Yeah. Well, do you want the T-Briar or Aggro-Briar?
I'm like, I was going to bring that up because like one of the kind of like maybe weird criticisms I had of Tales of Aria is that like, I absolutely love the rock, paper, scissors idea,
right.
The Pokemon resist idea. But like, and in theory, you're coming up with, the system that you're going to be able to say, you have like 3 potential ways to build every hero. You can build them all, you can go all ice, you can go all earth, you can go hybrid. It feels like Oldhim was really the only one that played close enough to like a hybrid. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there were, Lexi was just ice. That's just like, there was no, like, why would you do it different? So like on the surface, yeah, that's an awesome way to make a player choice kind of design balance. Mm-hmm. I really like that they're just going down to like 1 element.
Yeah,
on these things. Too. It's sort of the Diablo mindset, right? Because I remember everybody complaining about Diablo 3 taking away a lot of your like choice, but it's like you dorks use the same 2 hammer builds anyway. Like no one ever actually did that path. Everyone just did the meta. So like, why even give them the option to like? Sure. Because no one's going to play the bad one. It's just
right.
But yeah, right. I think it's simple. Simplifies. I was going to say simplifies. That's not a word. I think it simplifies the distribution of cards. But I do think it also reduces the pool of old cards you can use. You know what I mean? Like, not everything from Aria is going to be good because you're going to have those dual cards and stuff.
Can't run the pulses.
Yeah, and maybe that was like a design choice so that you couldn't run those like the pulses and stuff because they were a little strong sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, but we're getting like the channels now, like the Channel Millennium Tree, Channel Lightning Valley, like that kind of stuff. So it feels like
that's also going to make it easier to keep your pulses online because you're not going to be hybriding anything, and you're not going to run in that situation where like, oh, I needed an Earth card, I have a Lightning.
Right.
Yep.
And like speaking from old Briar perspective, like. Aurora reads to me almost similar to like the Cheerios Briar, except in order for her to get the go again, she has to pay 2. So it's a little bit of a downside, but when you look at a lot of the Lightning Essence Elemental Runeblade cards that exist now, a lot of those cost 1
or 0. Yeah, there's a lot of low cost stuff.
So if they cost 1, you got your 2 resources floating, and it's not, it's, you have the ability to essentially, use those 2 resources for something. And the one thing I wanted to point out too is that you can do that on your opponent's turn if you manage to play a lightning card on your opponent's turn, which you can because Channel Thunder Valley is an instant. Mm-hmm. So like turn 0, you just Channel Thunder Valley, pitch a blue, make your lightning surge for the start of your first like real turn. And that's a pretty strong play. Like, that's very similar to Lexi loading up Voltaire at the end of your opponent's first turn, right? Yep. It's the same kind of deal. It gives you the ability to just go wide. And and the embodiment of lightnings lets you they give you the ability to give go again to anything. So like maybe Snatchmate might come back into her list, because that's just generally you can give Snatch go again without cracking Snapdragons or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think she's going to play a lot like how I viewed kind of KO and Limited. Maybe. Of like, if you don't have those agility tokens, it just feels real bad. Yeah. If you don't have the way to like every turn constantly be making, playing a lightning card and getting an embodiment of lightning out so that you have those, long chains, I think she's going to feel very undervalued. Right. But, if you can consistently find that rhythm, and keep that like ball juggled in the air, I think she's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So speaking of things that can be played on your opponent's turn, 2 new wizards also.
Yeah.
How do y'all think an Earth wizard is going to work? Because that's just
life gain, baby.
Defensive wizards. It seems.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a fatigue wizard, which is going to be really cool. Like you got Kana that's just I'm trying to blast you down, and I think this one is going to start with low life. But like you said, have life gain and just fatigue and just I'm trying to chip you here and here until it gets down low enough to all of a sudden there's going to be like banish 10 Earth cards from your graveyard and deal like 25. That's something crazy like that.
We talked about the art on it, but we didn't talk about what it actually did. The heartbeat of Candlehold, gain 1, gain 1, gain 1. Oh, yeah. So 3 instances that happen with a period between them. You know what I mean? That is 3 separate instances of gain 1. So. Some kind of when you would gain 1, create
something happens,
create a surge or not a surge. Create a token anytime you would like gain life or is something like that. Like there has to be some kind of interaction there with life gain.
I mean, you good?
No, I was going to say, I think so as well. I mean, Earth, the way that I look at this set on the surface when I look at both kind of sides of the coin, like you have Earth on one side and you have Lightning on the other, right? Earth is about being defensive. That is how we've seen it expressed in the past. Right. Lightning is about aggro. It's aggression. It's go again. When you put it in a set where there's like a lightning wizard, and I think you're looking at the burn versus the heal, the burn versus the heal, the burn versus the fatigue. Mm-hmm. That is what I think this set is going to kind of like trickle down into is. You have your defensive heroes who are trying to gain life or put up a wall, and then you have your aggro heroes that are trying to burn you out of the game through Arcane. as fast as possible and just trying to go wide. And so when I look at Verdance, I think, okay, in the realm of like a limited set, an ability that basically says like whenever you gain life, deal like X amount of arcane damage doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility to me.
They'd have to be real low life starting for that to make like, you know what I mean? Because like,
but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
What if it?
All this would Heartbeat of Candlehold would translate to at that point if it is just one arcane per life gain, or not per life gain, but one arcane for each instance of life you throw out.
Yeah.
This is only a 1 for 3.
What if now, like, we've been talking
for 3 life gain, sure.
But it's a 6 health swing off of a 1 card, because if it ends up being every time you gain life, deal arcane damage, that turns all of these things into basically 1 for 6 value. You're getting 6 value off of a 1 because you're gaining the 3 and you're dealing the 3. Like, so that seems heavy-handed.
Here's my thought: is if it's going to be a lot of life gain, and knowing that this set is kind of around like, you know, growth and rot,
right?
What if there's some sort of like rot mechanic where this wizard to deal arcane pays life?
Maybe.
So it's like gain 1, gain 1, gain 1. Yeah. You could pay 1 to add another arcane or to buff your, you know, arcane attack.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this comes in for 2, but if you pay a life, make it 3.
I do want to point out, though, Embodiment of Earth tokens are Earth tokens. They're not Elemental Runeblade tokens.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That being said, wizards like playing non-attack actions, and Embodiments of Earth hit non-attack actions.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we are going towards this maybe defensive and combo out to win wizard plan, right?
Yeah.
That maybe her ability is simply whenever you gain life, you create an Embodiment of Earth.
Yeah. If there's like an anti-Kano, like where it's like the whole thing is just, I'm going to wall up, that's the way that I'm going to play wizard.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? But like that would be fun to me. Like I'm just trying to tick you down, gain a little bit of life, tick you down, and then have 1 or 2 explosion turns,
right?
Without having to necessarily be like, I want that explosion turn to be a 10-hour math fest of, you know, this is what I need to do,
right?
Like you just get to a point where like almost like Icelander,
yeah,
but not as I'm going to stop you from playing with Frost. It's like I'm going to put up a wall. You just got to get over it,
right?
I didn't think about this, but hey, you know how, remember there is that other hero that we got in Mistveil? What if that other hero is an ice hero in this set?
What do you mean?
Like the Enigma New Moon.
No.
What you like they've done it.
Yeah.
They've done it before. Where we
why
get
would you will that into
where we get a
existence,
5th hero, and what if there's actually a 5th hero that ice comes back? I was literally
like
thinking
another golden pack hero.
There's a little blue pack at the bottom of every like one of the 20 boxes.
I don't want ice back. I don't want ice back. I really hope that they don't surprise us with something ice, but. We do have, so, you know, I think we've kind of talked about all of them except, you know, Oscillo. I think it's Oscillo.
I think it's Acilio. There's a second I.
EO, it is. There is
Acilio.
Yeah, Rufio.
Yeah. Like oscillation.
Yeah, it's a pun. Defensive wizard.
No.
Imagine if... No, I was saying like...
okay. I was about to nope, burn wizard.
We have our defensive wizard, we have our burn wizard. Could you imagine a universe where ball lightning was not banned?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh god. I can totally see...
That would be like a 2-week LL for him.
Wow.
Unban ball lightning.
Yeah, I don't see Embodiment of Lightning probably returning for Acilio. The only reason I say that is, I mean, maybe it does. Maybe it does in some capacity.
I don't know. I think
it's
still going to be.
Because it needs to be an attack action. It's not like any action, you know? So it's an attack action that gets go again. And wizards don't really do that crap.
Yeah.
So, like, when
but aggro wizards might.
That's what I'm thinking. If you get lightning attacks, like...
Yeah, this may be a wizard that actually is more of a battle mage kind of style.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I will say there's a lot of cheeky ways for Acilio. If Acilio is, you know, obviously he's the lightning wizard. There's a really we got Blink from Tales of Aria. There are cards that just straight up say like instant speed, gain an action point. Like we might be looking at a wizard that does something that piles up a bunch of cards and then tries to maybe be like, all right, I'm going to make a bunch of action points and then I'm just going to send a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
I think Blink's going to be a no-brainer for him.
I think it's
regardless,
no-brainer,
even if it doesn't play off of like collecting action points. Like, why wouldn't you play Blink?
I mean, there's that, and then there's I think it was the Channel Thunder Valley that we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, no, it wasn't. It was Channel Thunderstep. The original
Thunder
one from Tales of Aria.
Yeah.
Because if you have Channel Thunderstep out, then you can play Tome of Aetherwind, draw two cards, pay 1, and give it go again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything you play, you can just give it go again. Like, and there's a lot of card draw involved in that. There's a lot of like stuff like that, which leads me to believe, like, okay, so say you draw into like Blink or something, you get the action point, then you can play 2 of those cards that you have in your hand, and now you're doing a bunch of arcane damage, and you're just trying to throw your opponent off as fast as you can with some kind of combo. You might not even be trying to combo. Maybe it's Amp. Maybe Amp is his thing. Like, which
I forgot that there's that new mechanic that we didn't kind of talk about.
And Amp is essentially like, it's essentially just like a +3 to a specific instance of Arcane in a way.
Okay.
So if you have like Amp 3, the next instance of Arcane you do, I think it does like, it'll do that much Arcane +3.
+3, okay.
Yeah. So
all I know is every time I see him, I'm just going to think Xerath from League of Legends.
Oh, this is like
everyone keeps saying that. I don't play League.
This set has League of Legends written all over it.
Yeah.
At least in the lightning department. I mean, Aurora. I like Aurora's art. I don't dislike it. It is.
I think her alt art is my favorite hero.
It's a little too cartoony for my taste.
It's very young Lexi. Every time I see it, I just go, young Lexi. Lexi.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's sick that she's got a giant Buster Sword, and that's something we got to talk about.
Talk about like heroes not getting the weapons that are displayed.
I want that as a weapon. It better be a weapon.
That sword. Both of those swords better be weapons.
Both of the swords better be weapons. Runeblade needs an actual blade back.
So that's interesting. Do you think that they're both going to use the same weapon, or do you think they're each going to have their own token weapon?
I would think maybe we get a token weapon that is just Runeblade, right? And then maybe we get majestic weapons back.
Okay, that's we haven't seen that too much recently, right?
Like, we saw rares and heavy hitters. They weren't majestic.
But like
what set was it?
Luminaris was a majestic, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the orb
Luminaris
is the token. Because the orb is the token. Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm just thinking it might be a situation where it's like, here's a Runeblade weapon that can be played by either of them, but like, there's also their specific versions. Or maybe they do it as simply as Aurora has a lightning Runeblade sword, and Florian has an Earth Runeblade sword, and that's just what it is. Like, I don't think that's going to really break anything in the game because there's only one lightning Runeblade, and there's only one, whatever.
You just want Rosetta back.
Briar and LL could run it, sure, but like maybe Briar Blitz. Oh man, Briar Blitz is going to get some upgrades out of this. Holy.
Briar Blitz is going to get some fun.
Briar Blitz is going to LL.
Briar Blitz is going to be real dangerous, I have a feeling.
Skirmish season is before this, right? Yeah,
it is. Yeah. Curious to see what we get for very curious to see what we get for just Runeblade in general. Will there be something printed in this set that finally pushes Viserai past the edge? Like, will there be something in this set
will you ever stop coping, is my question.
I don't like Viserai. I'll say it on this live on stream. I don't like Viserai.
So brave.
I don't like Viserai. I think Viserai is boring. Viserai is so boring, okay? I have been wanting an elemental Runeblade back. Everybody's like, oh, you excited for the new Runeblade? Oh yeah, I love Shadow. Chain was cool. Vincent was awesome. Got my first spoiler card off of her. She's my favorite. Like, I know how to play her very well. I really like the way she plays. I just wish she was better. And it's as simple as that. Like,
don't we all?
Yeah. Like, actually, I don't know if everybody wishes she was better, because I feel like if she gets way too better, it's bad.
Remember when Runeblades were a problem? Like,
I do. I've been in the mud for about a year now. It's great.
We can't always win.
And our worst matchup, Brute, now has KO running around it, so...
For now. Give him about 2 weeks. He'll be gone.
And Levia, one Shadow Realm horror, but hey, what do I know?
Well, anyone got any last minute stuff to I think we're probably about time, right, Chris?
Yeah, we're about an hour now.
104.
Minutes.
Oh, sick. Good. Okay, perfect. Hey, that vibed out perfectly. Matt, where can first, anybody got any last minute gags or things to complain about, or
I'll complain all day.
Well,
I mean, I can sit here and complain. Yeah, I mean, reminder: Green Tree Sports Cards is hosting the Green Tree Sports Cards Camp.
Oh,
Camp Green Tree.
Look what I got right here. Yes, everybody. First, hey, Matt, where can they find you?
They can find me at youtube.com/SinFabTCG. You can also find me on Twitter at SinFabTCG. And that's where you can find me. And I'm talking about all sorts of stuff. Right now I'm talking about Destiny, and I'm talking about Flesh and Blood and all the fun stuff.
Destiny. And if you see the one in a tweet battle with Craig, that's probably Matt.
That's me.
But yes, as Matt said, we have coming up August 16th through the 18th, Camp Green Tree. It's going to be a weekend-long camp out in the State College area, just full of fab activities all weekend. On Friday, there's going to be crafting and like camp theme activities with a Flesh and Blood flavor. Saturday, there will be a Realm Brawl Invitational 5K CC format. And then Sunday, there's going to be the finals of the Realm Brawl, and Green Tree will be hosting their own Blitz 2K. Side events all weekend. There's going to be food trucks. There's accommodations, some on site. You can literally camp. You can bring a tent, or you can go chill at the hotel. That's about 10 minutes down the road. So tickets are still available. I don't remember exactly what the cost for those are, and I don't want to give you any bad information. But
I think it's the package. I think if you want to get the playmat and the dice is $100.
Those are metal dice that are custom,
big old
smash with Green Tree metal dice. So,
and then I think the other one, it's $60 if you just want the entry and things like that.
Okay, and that entry gets you access to the Realm Brawl and the 5K, and I believe it's just one price for entrance to all the events all weekend.
I could be wrong.
I don't want to say all the events because
I will say
we'll double check.
That's true.
There is an FAQ page on gscfab.com. So please go review the frequently asked questions page.
That was like the one detail I didn't write down, and I'm realizing oh no.
No, we designed that specifically for people like Bryce that are forgetting these things.
Who can't read, who cannot RTFM.
Yes.
Also, big news this week. We got our first, I guess there's a couple other people that we're talking to, but we did get a big sponsor. So we got Quiver Time. They donated something like 21 items or something like that.
30.
30 items then? Okay,
30 items.
For the event. So, I mean, there's going to be goodies given away the whole time. So
everyone here loves Quiver, and it's mostly your fault, Chris. I think you convinced half of Pittsburgh to buy a Quiver or a Bolt. I got both.
Trying to make me a brand ambassador, not because I want any kickbacks, just because I want to keep slinging it officially.
Just because you do, yeah. No, it's great. We all honestly like the Bolt is one of my favorite things to like carry around Armory and stuff. It's pretty sick.
There's two. I have another one hidden somewhere back there.
Okay, well.
We got them all. All right. Well, hey, that probably wraps it up. I think next week we'll be back to the normal rotation when Craig finds his way back from the woods. I don't know what he's doing. But yeah. So, oh my God. Stay pizza.
Stay pizza.
Stay pizza.
Stay pizza. Later, everyone.
Later.